Ah,
Nice.
hello, everyone.
Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us for the first official Run the Wall podcast.
Let's go.
Woo! We have with us today owner and founder of Run the Wall.
Yo.
Very big welcome to Mr. Sergei Romanov.
Thank you.
I feel the need to be like, thank you so much for joining us, but it's kind of like if you invite a friend over to your house and then they rock up and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for coming. And you're like, I live here? It'd just kind of be good for us to let everyone get to know you a little bit as
Oh,
the
no.
founder and also me a little bit as well. But so to start off with, to give everyone a little context to anyone who is not aware, in your own words, what is Run the Wall? What is it? Why is it here? Potentially, most importantly, who is it for?
So, yeah, it's a loaded question, but I'll try my best to answer it properly. So,
Spot.
Run the Wall is actually an idea. It's an idea that helped me personally in my own way ages ago, and that I saw working for others. That's why I wanted to recreate it as a business. The idea there is that in our modern world, adults are dropping out of sports at some point. There is a point where it's either not cool anymore or you're just surrounded by kids because that's who's doing that sport more than you.
Very important as you get old. You got to be cool. You look
Yeah.
at sports like, oh, this isn't cool anymore.
Yeah. And if you're surrounded by kids in that particular sports, you don't really feel comfortable doing it anymore, or you just honestly, the real reason is that you don't have a crowd. You don't have enough mates who do that as well, or it's not as not mainstream.
Need those good community vibes.
Yeah, but so the thing is, sports as of its own is not as powerful, not as impactful as sports with a community and with what it does to you and your perception of yourself and how you approach your daily job or whatever chores you're running in your life. We're all busy. But for me personally, the experience was that almost every day after work, I lived in a very busy city. It's in Moscow. I don't know how many million people. It's way bigger than Sydney. It's a lot of traffic. And in the evening, usually if you're working 5 to, you driving back, and it's a hell to get home.
I hate traffic here enough as is. I can only imagine Moscow.
Trust me, you don't have traffic. You good. So for me, finding something like a gym or a place where I could go right after work and spend an hour or two really enjoying myself and seeing people who I like and doing some exciting activity, which is not super straightforward, challenging enough, but also rewarding. And then after that, no traffic, you just go home and do your chores, whatever, stop by a supermarket and do your life. That was life-changing. And it happened almost randomly. It's just because some people somewhere decided to open this thing and some other people decided to invite this particular crowd. And what happened, the community formed. And this community was consistent of 90% of adults. And all of them were just excited about doing a thing. They had different backgrounds. Some of them were snowboarders. Some of them were mountain bike riders, skateboarders. Some of them were big as athletes, but most of them not big at all. They just regular people. I don't know, random dude who rode skateboard for a year when he was at school, something like that.
Have a lot of cross mingling of different people, and in a way that let you experience how similar all those people were at the same time.
Yeah.
You could say friendship is the true magic.
Yeah. And before going into different sports and all of these extreme sports communities that I was surrounded with, even before trampolining, I never saw as deep of friendship connections between other people like there.
Mm.
I don't know why. Maybe because doing hard shit kind of bonds people together, especially when they're working on something a bit scary, a bit tough, challenging, and finally overcoming fears and all.
Mm.
And they're like when they're exposed in a good way towards each other. And that's where I saw kind of different side of people almost.
For sure.
But and also like I got into sports quite late. Most of my mates who are like professional BMXers, whatever, like I have some Olympic guys, but
This man has connections, but knows people.
they are like they started at 5. So like most common age would be like 12 if that's not super professional or whatever. I got into serious stuff when I was like 21 or like 19 or whatever. Super late, but late for that kind of purpose.
Yes.
So all of that like rediscovery of sports, of my own self, and all how like people work in sports, because it's a different like there's magic happening when people doing sports together. It's a different type of communication. So I saw all that, and I saw how absolutely incredibly people change when someone new comes into that community. Some other adults, and they kind of experience it first just as a funny thing to try, and some of them got into it because they like the progress. There's a program. We also had like teachers and all who were like constantly teaching you, and you every time you leave with like arsenal of 5 new tricks out of nowhere. And especially if you're a dude who never done anything, that feels like you're a freaking superhero. I personally, I did a little bit before that, but I remember like one of the most vivid memories, me walking up the stairs in one of the metro stations, subway station in Moscow. And me just like easily going up the stairs, massive stairs, whatever. And I just feel all this energy inside of me. And I know that I'm capable of doing this and that and all those things. And my mind is clear and I'm so happy. And I'm surrounded by people who by default have like sad faces. They're exhausted. They're like in their own kind of traps of their mind, whatever. And this gave me the like feeling of superpowers. And this is what I kind of the core memory that I fall back to every time I think about this slogan that Run the Wall has. We help you to become the superhero that you always wanted to meet. We all think that there is some kind of a superhero or like type of a person who like knows how the life works. They just got it all figured out. But realistically, if you want such a person in your life, you are the only one who can be that person, for not just for yourself but for others. And the idea behind the fact that we need some kind of a business or activity that popularizes and makes it cool to do something. It doesn't have to be trampolining, can be connected sport, like you're doing surfing and you're practicing on a trampoline to do your quirks, whatever. But it's cool to do that because it's not a bright, crazy place with parties for kids and all that stuff. So
Overwhelming amounts of screaming and yelling and
yeah,
little people running left, right, and center.
I mean, I don't have nothing against kids. Kids are amazing. It's just not the audience I cater for. I cater for adults because they, for some reason, left alone in a way. And
on that note is one very particular unique thing about Run the Wall is that it is, in fact, over 18 adults only.
Yeah.
Very much a different target market for this kind of activity from what is the usual.
I mean, if you want to go into our showrooms, you can go. If you're under 18, you can buy stuff. The only difference is you cannot cross particular line to actually do try before you buy or exercise. Like you cannot go on the trampoline or on the wall if you are under 18, but all the rest, no problem. This is that was an interesting choice to make because it definitely makes business way harder in a way because the main audience in Australia, realistically, it's not popular between adults as much as popular between kids. So I know that I'm definitely losing a lot of money
against the grain a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a conscious choice. I like it, and I like that people who are coming here, they know like what to expect and who are they being surrounded with, and all this like-minded people. Yeah,
of course. So yeah, I'm hearing a lot of kind of safe space for adults who want to discover and try something new, and some kind of community building. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. So for even further context about what we're doing here, um, podcast. Why? Why podcast? What is this podcast? What's it going to be for? Who's going to feature on this podcast, and who should be keeping their eyes and ears out for content to come?
So, all great things that you saw in your life or experienced, they are
Oh, this got very deep very quick.
stories. Yeah, like we are as humans programmed to interact and share stories, and do we want that or not, we should be able to convey stories and convey these experiences as words and be well spoken to some degree and share all of that. So the podcast is more of a way to allow people talk and share their stories, because stories behind, for example, why this incredible woman became this amazing climber and like taught so many people to do that, and like incredible life story and all that, the story behind it, that's what the energy is, and that's what you can kind of look at and be connected with. It's very hard to be connected with just the result of the story. If you show up at any kind of sport place where some particular people are very good at it, there is a big gap between your skill and theirs, and you don't feel connected.
It's a bit intimidating, even. It can be a bit scary to approach that person when you
Yeah,
don't know that story.
yeah, exactly. And also, maybe not even intimidating. Maybe the gap is so big that you don't feel anything.
There's a lot
So
of
big.
separation.
Yeah. So you don't even. Usually, there is intimidation when you kind of think you're on the same level, but you're not, and you're like hesitant. But the next level is the gap is so big that you don't even think about it. You're like in a
You're like,
different world.
This person is so far out of my league, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here in my little corner.
So realistically, because we all have busy lives as adults, and sometimes you have like an hour to do just classical gym, just go do some weights, whatever. So pretty much any place you show up to that does non-regular gym activity thing is like this. So you don't know what to expect, whatever. People they're focused on what they're doing, not on talking usually. And so the idea behind the podcast is to share, give people a stage who are have something to say about how they came back to sports as adults, or how their life is constantly being influenced by sports, and why this is so essential. I mean, we all know these phrases of like, yeah, doing sports is very important, good for your health, whatever.
Stay fit, stay healthy.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, obviously, but that's not the point.
There's more to it.
There's way more to it. Your brain, over hundreds of years of thousands of hundreds years of evolution, is literally hardwired to strive on your physical potential, on your development, same way how you learn stuff just by reading or looking at something. When you're learning something physical, it has even more profound effect on your chemistry, on your brains and everything. So you just feel better, you feel more connected to people, and most importantly to yourself, because I think that's what's all about. It's discovery of yourself, and discovery and just connection.
So to kind of begin that journey with yourself, would you be able to give everyone a bit of a brief timeline of kind of your relationship with sport? What does that story look like in a snapshot?
Well, as I said, I was kind of, I think, between 18 and 21 when it all started. And the very first sports were mountain biking and like jumping on a mountain bike. We had some dirt bikes with my mates, and we even didn't have a dirt bikes. We just had a casual like cross country whatever, like falling apart bikes, and we started on that. We started jumping dirt. We started jumping dirt on that nonsense, and
I can imagine this little group of like Russian teenagers hanging out like in the snow in the dead of winter with these rusty little like push bikes.
no, we got to snow. We got to snow later. Yes, we.
Okay, it was dirt first, and then you upgraded to snow. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Got it.
because after we did this for like a year or so, and we started getting better and bought like actual hardtails and dirt jumpers, that's when we're like, okay, how do we learn a backflip? Obviously, first solution, we wait for the winter for a lot of snow, and we build like a little little slope, and we just like crash in snow.
Little safety mat of snow.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that was a thing. But also in parallel, there was some kind of a surge in popularity of snowboarding. And one of my mates was like, "Oh, we're going into this thing. There was a popular, like every Saturday, there's this train that goes from this station, and it's full of snowboarders because they go into this popular place where you can get to in like an hour on a train, something like that." So, and this whole idea of being surrounded by a huge group of people, it's literally like the whole train is being occupied by this very cool people who are like dressed up very fluffy and cool and like with snowboards and stuff.
Did you have a moment of like first getting onto that train and being like, I don't know if I'm cool enough to be here?
It was that was definitely first time. It was a weird experience. Also, since we were all like 19 to 21 ish, there was like heavy drinking involved. So like when you go into the train, everyone's already half drunk. So it
Party's already started.
yeah, and it's literally like 1 p.m. Just afternoon. So that was like a lot of teenage kind of dirtbag situation. But it was very good because it like some of the people were still focused on sports. It was not just about drinking. It was up to like getting to the slopes, to the mountains, and actually trying to learn. Because my journey started like, okay, let's buy some gear and let's get to the thing and try to do something.
Let's just make it up as we go along and figure it out.
Yeah, like even at the time on YouTube, the YouTube was already around, but there was not a lot of tutorials or something, and the thing was not, I guess, as popular yet. So it was more about like just watching some other people going next to you and just trying to replicate. And I had my mate, Mitya, who was also learning snowboard with me, so we were just like struggling together and sharing that kind of the wild west.
Yeah, you have someone else to look like an idiot with, so at least you're not doing it by yourself.
Absolutely. And really quickly, because we were always so open about looking like idiots, that's like, I think that's the most important thing to realize. The more you open about it, the happier you are and the more friends you'll make. So we just did this by nature. And we got really quickly surrounded by people who were like us. And this group, maybe it was like 8 people or 10, something like that, men and women. And we all learned at the same time. So progress was going like relatively quick. And only after 2 months of that, even before the winter ended, one of people from that group were like, "Oh, our friends are going to this massive trip in mountains. It's the same mountains that Russia shares with Finland. So like proper mountains. Should we go?" And because we want to go anyway. Do you want to join us? And both me and Mitya, we were like, okay, I guess. We're like,
the cool kids are inviting us. We have to go.
I mean, they're just same as us. Like it was just some other friends of theirs who were slightly better at snowboarding, and they did it for like a year already. So we're like, okay, I guess we're just gonna do that. And it was a bit scary at the beginning because when you just get to first real mountains, you have different types of like lifts and things that pull you up. I don't know what's
J bars and T bars and chair lifts and
yeah. So the ones that you cannot just sit on, the ones that you need to put between your legs and that pulls you sideways and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And because it's a real freaking mountain, it's really slopey. Like the incline is tough. So the first 2 hours we were just falling from that thing on the first like 15 meters of the go. So you start going, you think you're okay, but then you kind of lose it slightly and you just fall and you go back. And that was honestly very hard because we should have learned that before going. But okay, after a few hours, we somehow already like with a couple of bruises and stuff, but we got up to end of the first elevator thing, and then it kind of at this point you kind of in the cloud. You start to be in the cloud, and then goes the second one. So second one was a bit easier because the incline was slightly less. But then there's a point where you're going the second one and you go above the cloud and you're just on the mountain lit by beautiful sunlight, and you see people literally on their snowboards lying down half naked because they're tanning. Because it's end of winter, snow is not starting to melt yet, maybe barely, but the sun is so hard, especially if you're on a mountain. You're hot. Literally, you're hot from the sun. But if you go under the cloud and lower, it becomes cold normally.
Yeah.
So, and you just like end up in this random place you never even thought it's possible. You're like, what's going on?
That very much sounds like the Russian equivalent of like beach vibes.
Yeah, if you say so. So, and yeah, and also another thing about snowboarding in particular that I didn't experience in other sports, that how people are. They don't know you. They kind of love you by default. Like it's not also like a super common thing in Russian culture to be open and friendly to people you don't know. You're more of a poker face, like by default. You don't smile much. It's it's how you upbringing thing. So, but in snowboarding, for some reason, this rule didn't work or whatever, or just people were happier a little bit. And I remember how like some random group of people walking towards us, and they're like almost giving us a hug, and they're like, "Yo, guys, how you doing? Like, well done. Blah, blah, blah. Here's some malt wine. Is that a hot wine?
Yep, sure.
Like from our thermos, whatever. Like, share with us. Like, tell your story, whatever." It was life-changing experience.
That sounds very like core memory material.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like the first instance you can think of in your life of people kind of outwardly showing kindness just for the sake of pure acknowledgement that you are also a person who will enjoy kindness?
I think the very first one was actually on trampolines. When I showed up first, one of my friends opened a trampoline gym, and it was quite small, like few trampolines, and it was mostly for friends. So there was people who were there who were exercising. They were all like either professional BMXers or like it was very like tight community, and they were pretty good at what they do, and semi good already on trampolines because they started like before me, whatever. And that was the first time when I experienced that, because I showed up there completely not knowing anything. I couldn't even do like a sit thing on my bum, like land on my bum, whatever. And people who were teaching me and who were just exercising side by side to me, they were incredibly kind and they were super supportive and like trying to help and explain tricks and all that stuff. And there was a lot of joy in it. And it kind of, from that moment, it just clicked and sticked with me the whole time. So every time after years and years of doing trampolines and other sports, when I would be surrounded by other people, I would give them that back. So I would help them learn stuff. And because at some point I discovered that for me personally, I feel even more happy and more excited and accomplished than the person who I'm teaching sometimes. Because when they finally get it, I'm incredibly happy.
Yep, you get that little burst of joy of like, oh my god, yes, like I've been like, can't believe you finally got that thing.
Yeah, they're also happy, but because their mind is a bit obstructed by the learning curve and they like don't know if it's like good enough, whatever. So they still, and I have this like a pure, non-obstructed view of what happened, and I'm so happy that I managed to put that in their head, that they made the trick and now they have it in their arsenal. It makes me super happy. So this empathy and this approach, it sticked with me, and I realized that it's one of those things that I need to do. I need to create this opportunity for people to learn new stuff, because it changes how they function, like on a very core level. You'd think that you learned like a trick on a trampoline or like a trick on a snowboard, but you becoming a different person after a month or two of doing so. Completely, like, I don't know.
For sure. And so how long would you say you spent kind of in that environment developing those trampoline skills back home before you ended up moving here to Australia? What does that kind of look like timeline wise? Because you've been here now for
Almost 6 years. I
6
think.
years.
Yeah, maybe 6 years prior that I started with trampolines, something like that. Maybe more. I honestly lost count of time.
You lose track after a little while.
Yeah, so we went to, for example, to Germany for competitions for the tram bike, and it was 2017, and I was already quite good because we took like first places in there
It
with my
doesn't.
friends.
When you say 2017, you're like, oh yeah, that was just a couple years ago, and then it occurs to you that like, oh, that's almost 10 years.
Yeah. So I guess I did that for a longer time then. Yeah.
Amazing. And now you're here. I am very glad. We are all very glad to have you here. Thank you.
I'm also very glad.
It's been a very amazing 6 years. And it's been amazing to watch you settle in and grow through the process. It's been an honor to be with you through it.
Thank you.
So getting to Run the Wall and kind of the process of starting Run the Wall. And you kind of referred to a lot of those experiences that you had back in Russia. In terms of that big move, that big milestone of finally deciding to move countries into what I would hazard a guess I'd say is a fairly different culture in quite a few ways. In terms of sports and in terms of trampolining, is there anything you can pinpoint that has been a big difference between those two cultures? Or is there anything particular that sticks out that you're like, wow, I expected this to be different, but it's actually very similar?
Like overall, because I traveled quite a lot before moving to Australia, and I saw a lot of different cultures doing sports. In my understanding, already everyone is the same, and I feel like way more connected with the whole world and how people are, and I like don't differentiate them as much. There's some cultural difference, as you said, how some things are less popular than others, and all that. One of those things, like Europe and Russia compared to Australia, is the difference is the extreme sports and any kind of movement sports way less popular between adults. And if you show up at I don't know, like trampoline gym or any other, maybe like mountain biking slope, you would see mostly kids, and you'd maybe see one or two adults from here and there on the weekend, but they would be just briefly there and kind of leave soon.
Which leads into exactly how you and I met.
Yeah.
I enjoy telling this story because the whole situation is just so very you in a nutshell. As I spent a number of years working for a franchise of trampoline parks, like you said, mostly catering towards kids and families, but especially early on, we did kind of get a little bit of that adult audience in. And, I was just off doing my thing, doing my work, and there was this random Russian guy that would come in every now and then, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, he's pretty good. You should go and like hang out with him for a little bit." And I was talking with one of my coworkers down at the reception, and we were talking about D&D or Dungeons of Dragons for anyone who is not as much of a nerd as I am. Talking about starting up a game, and out of nowhere, you walk up, and you're like, "Can I join?" And I'm like, "Sure." And that is how we met.
Yep. Yeah, this me inviting myself to things.
And it was great. It was a great D&D campaign. It was very fun. And I finally had someone else to like jump with on the regular.
It was so exciting for me because literally that was the peak of popularity of Stranger Things as well. And they were playing D&D, and that was, I mean, I knew about D&D before that, and it was like a cool thing, but now it was like this shiny cool thing that I want to try this finally because it's not popular in Russia at all. I mean, maybe I just don't know, but I
You
don't
just
think.
weren't cool enough for D&D in Russia. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Like honestly, I think there's plenty of people playing it. It's just like less popularized or less open, maybe.
Mm, mm.
So, and also, uh, if I remember correctly, I didn't invite myself right away. We actually spoke before that, and we jumped together a little bit. So
Mm,
I
mm.
also knew what kind of person you are a little bit from that experience. So it was not just about D&D; it was also just excitement of having a friend.
But it is a heck of a lot funnier to tell it that way.
Truth.
But yeah, we shared some good jumpies, and we still do to this day.
Yeah.
So in terms of that move and your continuation into extreme sports, would you say that there's anything about moving countries and being here for 6 years? Does anything stick out that has influenced your relationship with extreme sports and with fitness and exercise in general? Is there anything about being here that's made it different for you over the years?
Hmm. What I love about Australia, that doing sports and being healthy and taking care of yourself, of your body, is such an ingrained thing in Australian culture.
Mm.
I was completely shocked when first time in my life I was at Manly Beach at like 4:30 a.m. just because I had this silly idea that I want to take a picture of the sunrise.
Mm.
And I showed up and the beach was so full you can't even like go through the amount of people there, and they're just doing all sorts of exercises, yoga, breathing, like
Mm.
all sorts of things, and they're very happy. They look it in your eyes, they just so present, and they just have their mates, and sun rising, and everyone's just like cheering for it, and they having a coffee after that, and then they go to work from there. That was insane. I thought this is like some kind of a weird flash mob / cult thing happening. It's not real.
I mean, as everyone knows, we're all paid actors. Australia doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
We're all still waiting for our paychecks. So, any day.
Yeah. So that was good. And another thing is age groups. Here, even though we say that like extreme sports and this kind of sports not popular between adults, however, just doing swimming and doing some kind of a like running activity, whatever, is very popular between old people as well.
Mm.
And I would see like a grandpa, I don't know, 80 years old or something. He's surfing, and he's surfing well, and he's giving advice to like young people how to do it.
You can tell right away that that's the old master.
Yes. I mean, you always project things that you see on yourself, and you think like, wow, if that's the environment when I can be old and that happy, I want to be here.
Mm. Mm. This wasn't meant to be an ad for Tourism Australia.
Yeah.
But if they want to sponsor us,
If you're into granddads, you can come over.
granddads and budgie smugglers,
Yeah.
classic. We come for the culture.
Yep.
Budgie smugglers and snags sums the country up. So one last point on that difference in that move. What has it been like in your experience to, like you say, kind of go from that established community, have that big move, and have to look for that community again, both just in your normal life and in sports in particular? How would you describe that process?
Oh, yeah. It was double challenging because when I just moved, I had slightly worse English than I have now. So it was a bit of a language barrier, and culturally, I didn't know yet how I would be accepted or not by different groups of people.
Kind of like treading on eggshells, making sure not to offend anyone.
Yeah, yeah. Trying not to offend anyone because I have very straightforward character, and also just by like I didn't know right away how it is by default you are to strangers.
Mm.
So it's like it's not really a thing to be super open to strangers in Russia, and you need to spend substantial amount of time with people for them to like properly open up and consider you as their own and all that stuff.
Mm.
But when they do that, it's like super cool, strong connection. And here, especially at the beginning, I just didn't know what to expect, and it was a bit of a. I think first year was a bit of a challenge because of that. But eventually, I started like collecting these grains of people who are doing different kind of sports like parkour or trampolining or what else, like BMX in a skate park and skateboard and all that stuff. Like slowly, piece by piece, kind of it happened almost naturally in a way. And those people introduced me to more and more. And because I was always, when I meet people, I always share some kind of a ideas that I want to do this and I want to create that. They trying to either help with that or introduce me to someone who has similar views and stuff. And it really helped. Like starting to tell my story to people, and instead of just keeping it to myself, that changed everything. Like constantly talking about my ideas of creating this community, creating this business, trying to bring adults together and all that stuff. It changed everything because it suddenly became not just me, but this idea that's bigger than me, and people wanted to help with that.
Changed me too, because I was the guy who was crazy enough to go along with all of it.
Yeah, it's an important bit. So in one of those trampoline days when we were just jumping there where you worked, I just said that, oh, I have this idea. I want to build a trampoline wall. And at the time, it wasn't even like a business plan. It was more of a, I want to build a wall and we can use it. And if it doesn't work, we still have a wall.
You did come with like your drawing, your CAD drawing already done up and everything. You were prepared.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, I'm an engineer, so I try to come prepared to any meetings and stuff. So yeah, I shared drawings, I shared like the approach that I want to take and all that, and rough calculations of how much time it can take and all that stuff. So it would be easier for you not just to say yes,
to
but
follow along with the craziness.
but even like to assess the craziness, you know. So like there is a yeah.
You came with the game plan of like, okay, this is insane, but here's all the steps of insanity that we're going to be able to follow.
Yeah.
And it worked out great.
And those steps, if you've split it in steps, they're not as insane. So is everything else, you know?
Yeah, it's a good thing we're both crazy though. It works out. So moving on more specifically to trampoline related things, you already spoke a bit about this trampoline place that you had back home in Russia. Could you expand a little bit more on exactly what your relationship with trampoline has been? How did it start? How did it develop into where you are now with trampoline?
Yeah. That's a good story, and I need to say huge thank you to a person who created this gym, and it's actually a franchise already. It's network of gyms in Russia. I think one of the biggest already. It's called Do a Flip. His name is Sergei as well, and he is just one of those incredible guys who don't say a lot of words, but what they say, you really listen to it.
Every time they speak, you know it's going to be something good.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I don't know many people like that. He's very unique in that regard, and with this mentality and the fact that he was surrounded by those people who are quite high up in different sports, like connected to Olympic athletes and stuff like that, he came up with this idea of trampoline centers, and he wasn't limiting himself to just adults, just kids as well. But because culturally acrobatics in Russia taken a bit more seriously, and people just by nature just do it a bit longer years than in Australia, it still was a lot of adults in those gyms. And because of his nature and because he was always there in those gyms, and he was also teaching at the beginning, especially a lot. And he was the person who was teaching me as well. And he was a person who was creating those communities of people and hiring very specific coaches who would be also great people. That's what made it all work, and that's how trampoline for me became a thing.
I feel like that's and even after like having met him myself, one of the things that is really cool about him and about the people that are generally involved in these kind of communities is Sergey himself is he's a very well accomplished Olympic coach. You know, when you think of someone who is performing or teaching at that level, you kind of almost expect them to be very like unaccessible. You're like, oh, this person's up here. Like, I'm not gonna be able to like get into that sphere, but, like, there's you who started from, like, essentially no experience, and he was so willing right away to just, like, take you under his wing and show you all the ropes from the get-go, because he's just that kind of person. He's not like, "Oh, well, I don't have time for
Yeah.
someone like you."
Yeah,
Like
but like also very important that at the time when we met, he wasn't Olympic coach yet, and
Mm.
also he's Olympic coach in BMX, not in
Yes,
not in
yes,
trampolining.
yes, thank you.
So he was already connected somehow to schools of BMX and all that stuff. He was always caring about athletes and stuff.
Mm.
But then only in recent years he became an Olympic coach. Maybe in last like when I moved to Australia, pretty much 6 years ago or something.
Mm.
I think.
Mm.
Yeah, but regardless, he was successful business person, and if he didn't want to, he didn't need to either be in those gyms or be connected to all those people or just even spend any time of his life being there. It's just his willingness to help people and also just do the sport himself. He was jumping with
Mm.
us,
Mm.
and his style of jumping really influenced my style of jumping. We kind of like similar tricks, but not all of them.
Mm. And that is a funny thing that ends up happening is especially when you have all these different sports and disciplines coming together, a lot of people tend to develop their own style and their own preferences of, yeah, I'm really comfortable with this, but I hate doing these. And then when you have those people come together, you get a little bit of that push to like step outside your comfort zone, which is again
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit more unique and I think is one of the big draws of having that kind of community around a sport.
yeah.
Adds a little extra spice.
Oh, absolutely. Even here right now, when we opened, and plenty of people who do parkour showed up,
Mm.
and they just so good with twists and flips with twists,
Mm.
and they can just like even without jumping on a trampoline, they can just do all that stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so yes, you need to teach them basics and safety, and you need to progress through a little bit with them, so they utilize actually trampoline, not like they utilize ground, but they understand how to bear that force.
Mm.
But then they just take off from there, and they're just so good in what they do, and it really pushes you as well
Mm.
to learn one of those advanced moves that they do even without a trampoline.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty crazy what some of them get up to. They're wild, and they had so many of them just have no fear. They just don't care. They just go. It's like, "Ooh, okay."
Yeah.
But so as an adult, for people who do not have much experience with trampolines as an adult, maybe they jumped once when they were a little kid, but they haven't touched it since. As an adult, what do you find to be some of the biggest benefits of trying something like trampoline? And what are some of the maybe commonly perceived downsides that you can have from trampoline in your experience, in your opinion?
I think I'll start from downsides, maybe. There are some specific physical conditions that people have, maybe with their spine cord or with their ligaments sometimes, that like at some point, if inflammation is very high, you shouldn't do trampolines, and you need to address that first. And when it kind of subsides, then you need to come back. But those conditions are quite rare, and it's not your usual "I pulled my back" kind of 30 30 years old problems.
It
So-
definitely does do a lot of strange things. It's one of those activities where you wake up the next morning and there are muscles that are sore that you didn't even realize you had.
Oh, that's very true. You're talking about stabilizer muscles, and yeah, they hurt. They hurt. Even if we do a long enough break from not jumping, and then we come back, and we kind of just by nature, oh, just gonna do this super advanced shit I was doing before, and then next day, you did something wrong, but it heals. It heals quickly. It's like a normal, like
Mm, mm,
growing pains. Um, and the benefits, I mean, there is a lot of benefits on top of everything that we talked already, like having a community and all this progress and feeling like a superhero, and actually understanding how you can control your body, because um, I would say it's very close to dancing in a way, in the amount of control, especially when you go to more like active styles of dancing.
Mm.
That you understand how your body actually works, not just by like holding a spoon and like typing on a keyboard, but how much motion it has, how you can control the inertia and like spins and all that stuff. That really opens up new neural pathways and you feel happier. But there are also like physical benefits, like jumping on a trampoline works as a lymphatic drainage as well. Like, that's a very popular thing now. People would do lymphatic drainage massage to like emphasize the lymphatic movement in underlying tissue. And really, it helps you to overcome internal inflammations and just feel younger and look younger.
You've been paying for these expensive skin treatments all this time. You could have just been jumping on the trampoline, and all your worries would have subsided.
Yeah,
Look
apparently
youthful again.
jumping on a trampoline for 15 minutes is equivalent of doing like 2 hours of those massages. And just because this is how like liquids in your body are influenced when you jump, this little G forces that are going through, they do even better job than manual intervention, kind of, with all those devices.
And it's also very intense cardio.
Yeah.
Forget running. This is where it's at.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
Yeah. If one of the first things that people always say after they first tried it is they're like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize how unfit I was." It's like, "No, it's not you. It's not you. Don't worry."
Yeah.
It's very intense stuff.
First time, it's very intense. But it gets better.
Absolutely. It's so good for you. Big improvement, very short time. I think for me, one of the most interesting things, kind of like you said, is that that bodily control. I find it interesting to think about the difference in like activities between kids and adults. And I think one of the biggest things in that regard is as an adult, we tend to stop playing.
Oh yeah.
We stop using our bodies in ways that are not inherent. Kids, they're running and jumping all over the place. They're climbing, and we don't do that so much as an adult, and we start to lose a lot of that tactile ability to control ourselves. And I just find that so interesting to see the difference in people who have nourished that part of their bodies and their connection with their ability, and then the people who haven't nurtured that as much. And then also watching people start to gain that control through the process of learning is incredible. Because
Absolutely.
it does a lot more than just that physical aspect. It's like you said, it forms new neural pathways. You're getting fit and staying active, and you're able to use your body more in ways that you probably didn't expect.
Yeah, and you feel way more capable. You're just like,
Mm.
I actually can do all these things. How's it? I can do flip. I can do this,
You can do a flip.
and I can be so high on a trampoline. But also, to add to that a little bit, the thing is, like the progress that you're talking about being reconnected with their body and stuff, and you're watching people. Out of context, people would think it happens like over months. But no, it happens sometimes even within one session. Person starts from kind of you talk at someone and like, oh, bring your knees closer to your chest, whatever, and they can't do that. And at the end of this hour or 2 hours, they doing it perfectly because they just learn it right now on the spot and use it immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool. It's incredible stuff, and it's great to be able to witness and see. And again, you see that joy in their face of that realization. They're like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's a very novel experience as an adult that we don't get nearly as much anymore. Birds.
You can only be in this business if you really enjoy people progressing, and you're not just getting whatever jealous or something. Because it's about giving to others and enjoying being so empathetic that you experience this joy through yourself, even if they get the trick and not you.
Yeah, 100%. Going even further on the topic of trampolines is even more specifically something that is very unique to us and is the namesake of the business, running the wall, wall tramp. How did you kind of discover that? What's the relationship there, and how has that developed an influence this aspect of the sport for you?
Ooh, that was a tough topic for me. I when I started trampolining, we in those gyms we had walls. Um, at the beginning, they were not very good walls, but they were there, and people kind of used them. But I, for some reason, thought that this is not for me. I just need to focus on tricks on the trampoline itself.
Mhm.
Maybe start to learn bike at some point.
You were a trampoline purist.
Yeah, yeah.
Too good for the wall.
So I'm like, wall is more like, I don't know, this is circus. So I was like, what am I, a circus person?
What am I, a monkey?
So I don't know, it was just a stupid belief. And then at some point, Sergei opened a new gym, and this one had like wider wall, and also some people who are quite good at running the wall like started coming, and I saw it from like different lens when it added more freedom, and they were so good at it, and they were also welcoming to kind of to teach stuff. So slowly but steadily, I kind of eased into the wall as like a nice addition. But yeah, wall was never the target for me.
Yeah, so it's interesting to arrive at that place because for me it was almost, I wouldn't say it was the opposite, but to some degree it was. I remember the first time I ever saw it was Cirque du Soleil in Disney World. Actually, they had a permanent show, and it was the first time I had ever seen it. I'd had a trampoline in my backyard for a fair amount of my childhood, but that was definitely a tipping point. I remember watching that show get into the end, and I immediately turned to my dad afterward and said, "Dad, we have to put the trampoline up against the house because I have to learn this."
And that is like, okay.
I was immediately enthralled. I was like, "Oh my god, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life." And it's one of the big reasons that I end up starting to go to trampoline parks
Mhm.
because they had a wall. I was like, "Oh my god, yes, I can finally learn this thing."
Yeah, yeah. After I got into it, I really understood what I've been losing this whole time. And when I moved to Australia as well, I was drawn to those parks who had walls and using them. And for some reason, also walls usually had more adults on them, so it was more of a like filter, nice filter to be there. So yeah, I hope I like if I was there once again, I would start doing wall earlier with the tramp.
In terms of extreme sports, as we get older, it's definitely something that most people will start to shy away from. They get to a point where they think, "Oh, that's not for me. I'm too old for that."
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would you say? You've been someone who's kind of been involved with it for most of your life, so in some ways, it's probably it's comfortable for you. But would you say there's anything particular about it that motivates you to continue with it as an adult rather than, say, just going to the gym or going running?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going with the flow of what a lot of other people do. What keeps you engaged and wanting to continue with it as you get older?
Very big difference for me personally, and from what I observed all the years, is if the activity is guided, then it works in the long term, and it works for adults who can be, in some ways, a bit more fragile to and more exposed to traumas and longer recoveries and all this stuff. If activity is guided, then first of all, you will have less of a chance of making a mistake and a long recovery as a result.
Very important.
But also, just in your mind, it's all nicely on the shelves. All the things that you do, everything is very clear. You have your progress, you have your program, and you working towards that. We like structure as adults, and that's why this stuck very well. I started doing way less mountain biking, for example, and riding a skate park because it's more of a like you kind of left to your own accord and you kind of do whatever and trying to copy something. Um, so that stuck less. But with trampoline, that was this way. But if I compare this to just a gym, like a generic gym experience, I would say it's as good as. It's just a different taste of it because if you're doing just a regular gym and not doing some kind of a CrossFit or something like that, you have less motion specific activity in those exercises, you're still healthy, you're strong, and you have some range of motion, but you're not connecting that with the inertia or like using your body in that kind of way that kind of overcomes this speed barrier of your regular speed of motion that you experience in your life. You're not running as much as adult, or you're not like twisting as much as adult and all that stuff. Some of us do, and on their office chair, they like to spin. I like those people. So,
I would definitely be one of those people. Don't ever put me in a corporate office. I will cause chaos.
Same. So, yeah, that's why it's stuck, I think, because if you have structure and you have some kind of a safety net and you have a person who guides you, then it works very well. And from what I saw in other adults as well, if you're doing martial arts, for example, it always guided. And that's why people stay in martial arts for so many years as adults, and they keep doing it. And same thing with particular types of swimming and particular types of like jogging, hiking, whatever it is. Some what they do on skis when it's not riding from the mountain, but more like trekking on skis and stuff.
Yeah, cross country skiing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that stuff sticks with adults as well, because there's always some kind of a path. It's a bit harder as an adult if you don't have a preformed already a community of people who already have some kind of agenda and you're all working on something. It's hard to stick around when you're just on your own or like with a couple of mates who do that. So, yeah.
For sure. In terms of your personal journey and extreme sports, do you have any big goals that you'd like to try and achieve through the coming years? Is there anything new you'd like to try that you haven't touched yet?
I want to get a diving license. But that's,
Like
if
as
that's,
in like scuba diving?
yeah, if that's any relevant.
Yeah.
And I want to get a pilot license for planes or helis first. I'm not sure yet, but it's for next year, not this
This
one.
man's going to be doing barrel rolls before you know it.
Yeah, but for sports specifically that I can just utilize my body, not sure. I would like to get better at surfing. I'm pretty bad at that. And doing more snowboard. I miss snowboard. There's not a lot of snow in here, so
It's like you've got like one option in Australia.
Yeah. You get one snowflake for 5 million people to share. Put it in the freezer. Put it back.
Yeah, very much so. So moving on to the topic of you being a business founder, I wouldn't hesitate to say that you are a little bit of a business nerd. I think I've been able to witness a lot of the joy that has come from you being able to develop
Oh yeah, I
your
like
own
this shit.
thing and kind of build a business. Again, in a brief snapshot, a brief timeline, how would you describe your experience, both starting out, your initial experiences in business, and then how has that kind of propelled you forward to where you are now, growing this business?
Okay. My career journey was quite different, I would say. I started in IT at the uni where I just got into. I started as a tech support and quickly progressed through like the ranks, and my career evolved into being a network engineer certified and all that stuff. But I was always drawn to having a business and try to have a business because I was always concerned about like narrow vision of particular companies, how they do stuff, and I always wanted to try something different. So that was the reason why I wanted to start my own stuff, and it was pretty well. At some point, though, when I realized that I want to move countries and move out of Russia, specifically with visas and how it's all constructed, the only way is to get hired as a professional in your field. So it's like almost impossible to immigrate as just entrepreneur. So I realized, okay, I need to kind of go into a corporate career for a little bit. And I moved companies. I worked for like Central Financial Exchange for Russia. I worked for like the biggest IT giant called Yandex, and that was all on purpose because I knew that I can get hired overseas from there. So that's what happened.
You're a man with a mission from the get-go.
Yeah, it took 6 years to move to Australia. And it was the plan from the beginning. So I like before getting here, I was for 6 years. I was working on that to like change companies and kind of get better, get certified, and all that stuff. Work on my English as well.
Mm.
English is not as mandatory in Russia, so if you wanna if you wanna have good English, you need to spend your own money and learn it and dedicate time, whatever. So that was also part of the journey. So eventually, I got hired overseas. I got invited to interview, and they bought me tickets to Australia. I passed all the like 6 levels of interviews, whatever, and it was almost like a dream. I wasn't even sure that it's all real, and yeah, when I went for an interview here on site, I finally saw Australia with my own eyes, and it totally validated all my expectations and what I thought about Australia. And I was very happy about it, and I was very happy when they said yes, also with relocating me and all that stuff. And so later down the road, like several years, when I like fulfilled my part of the contract and I got my papers and everything, I got detached, and I was finally able to start my own businesses again. And one of them is Randall. So sorry, that was a long answer, but
No, it's good. It's good
context is important.
Absolutely. That's very good. In terms of starting this business, there may be people listening who are thinking about starting their own business or are already in the process or have been having difficulties. Through this process, what have been some of the struggles that you've had to go through to try and make this work? What have been the hard sticking points? And what are some of the things that have helped you through that and to keep going and keep progressing?
So, in terms of how hard or not hard it is to start a business in Australia specifically, it's very easy. Like Australia, among all the countries, really wants to help you. Like genuinely, they want to give you money. They want to give you help. They want to connect you with people. Like just say it. Like there is thousands of programs per every state that they do that, and it's all up to you to actually utilize that help and read about it and do those courses and all that stuff. In my case, I think the biggest struggle I had is actually overthinking and over preparing. So I could have started a bit more sloppy, but me being me, I need things straight. So before I had everything lined up, I wasn't starting. I could have done it a bit more easy. In context of other countries, I would say it might be a similar way. Maybe it's a bit harder to get to this point where you get help from government, but you would be surprised how much help people can and ready to offer you for free. And the biggest difference and reason why one people are good at doing business and others are not, like being a founder specifically, is thinking about why. Because what people follow and why people want to help you is your why. There's an amazing book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. Before you do anything, before you do any business, just read this to just straighten things up in your mind. It's a small book, and trust me, it's going to be very helpful for you, even if you have nothing to do with business. So that, and then after that, I would say just be prepared to work quite a lot on what you love, though. However, not receiving any like validation for it. So you're doing the right thing, you're progressing, but there is nobody who will tell you, "Oh, good job," or like you get immediate results, or you have all this like money and deals and all that stuff. It's not exactly how business works. It's a very long term game. You need to be smart about it. You need to think like a lot of years ahead. But what's the engaging part and what's the difference is what happens to you when you start to do that, and what person you become, and which people you meet, and how this all changes your perception of the world. Because people is like, the world consists of businesses and all this like secret mechanisms behind the curtain that you don't even think about because you don't have to. And world becomes like you understand people and the world better once you start doing it. So I would say don't waste your time, just start doing it, start learning, start looking for help, read a couple of books, but don't get stuck into books and motivational content and all that stuff, because there's this amazing quote that everyone repeats, like listening to a podcast about it is not doing a thing. you know this one.
Yep.
Reading about it is not doing a thing.
Go do the thing.
Yes. Until you go to the thing, it's not a thing.
Yep. Very good. Very true. What is the future of Run the Wall going to look like? If all goes according to plan, what's Run the Wall going to look like in, say, 5 years' time? What's your vision?
So Run the Wall is not a gym. Run the Wall is a manufacturing company. And it just happened to be that we also a bit good at those sports. That's why we have showrooms and we teach people some stuff. So we'll continue doing so. However, what's going to scale first is manufacturing and amount of products and things we will give to the world for adults who want to do all this exciting stuff. Because it's very easy to play golf as a prestige thing because you have all this like nice like whatever equipment they use and it's all like shiny and very expensive and all that stuff. But for some particular sports, you don't have that at all. And it's not just about prestige and status, it's just about the quality and the accessibility of some stuff and how much you can rely on your equipment and all of that. It all comes together. There is no Dyson in trampolining. There is no Koenigsegg in trampolining, but that's what we want to be. There's a lot of ingenuity and curiosity and prototyping involved in products that we're working on. It's going to be connected to better materials. It's going to be connected to all sorts of computerizing the equipment. So it gives you feedback. An equipment that you use is almost like a smartwatch for you. So it can help you learn. It can help you get better. And also you can communicate the data that you collected with your friends and all that stuff. So I think in 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen is we're going to like figure out more products. We're going to figure out more supply chain, and we're going to scale that up. And that's going to unlock potential for more money streams, more revenue, and putting more money towards the thing that are not exactly money-making activities, but they're very important to do, like teaching people and having those gyms. And yeah, it's not a mystery that you can't make money on that if you don't do kids arenas. It's just not a thing. But that's what we're going to do anyway. And also it's so important to be visible as a brand, as a community, because if you don't show an example, who's that for? Like, who's gonna...
If you don't tell people, then they won't ever know.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, because there are things that are way more important than just having your revenue streams and business plan together. There's also an aspect of sharing with people and sharing with the community, giving back. Yes, you need money to sustain that, but that's what we're going to do with our products. That's going to be products for trampolining, the trampolines themselves, replacements, and like spare parts like springs and all this stuff, walls, but also stuff that you can utilize as equipment on a trampoline, like special trampoline bikes with sensors and all, harnesses, also motorized harnesses that gives you feedback and help you to learn, and you can use together with your coach or on your own. Yeah, snowboards, surfboards, whatever you can. Those things are not rocket science, I would say. Maybe some of them are a little bit. They're more like a lot of material science involved, and also production constraints and stuff like that. We also want to produce as much in Australia as possible.
But if we did attach rockets to trampolines,
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll get the blueprints.
Yep. Yeah. Next thing you know, in 10 years, we're flying that thing.
Yep. Here's to the future. So through all of your experience, both in sport and in business, through your career, through your life, I would say that you're definitely not a person who shies away from trying new things. If you were to boil down all of your experience to one short message, if you were to sum it up to other adults who are maybe not sure if they're happy with where they're at, want to make some changes, but they're not sure how to push the button and hit go, what advice would you give them?
Oh man. For me, it's not even advice, it's a mental state. It's gonna sound a bit dark, but one of the biggest motivators for doing stuff with your life is that the fact that your life, like as a thing, is very short. And there is no tomorrow, there is no later. If you feel like you're missing something in your life, might as well just go and try. It's not gonna be perfect, as it shouldn't be, because there must be excitement and learning and all that stuff. If you start doing something and you're perfect at it, what's the point?
Game over. You win at life. Good job.
Yeah.
Gold star.
Game over. Bye. So, yeah, I guess the advice is not even an advice. Advice is action. So you're not going to be younger than today. So just go. And it's good if you can find someone who can do it with you. But trust me, it's way easier to find someone already like on the job, while doing the thing. And this person is going to be doing that anyway. So you see.
Amazing. Sergei, thank you very much for letting me grill you for a little while.
I survived this.
You survived. We can all go home. Yay.